Hi friends! I am so excited you're here today because I'm going to talk about all the books I ended up reading in August. I read a lot of books. I definitely read more than I thought I was going to read, and I ended up knocking off of some books from my 23 and 23, which is really exciting. And I just had a blast reading some garbage for Garb August. If you guys didn't know, I was a co-host for Garb August, which was created by the wonderful Ollie from Criminale, and thank you so much for asking me to participate. I had a blast, and I hope everybody who participated at least read one good piece of trash. Mine was pretty hit or miss, but I did end up reading a 5-star trash. So 5-star trash. I was not expecting it. So yeah, I had a blast with it, and yeah, I read a lot. So let's just get right into it. Starting off with some DNFs I had. I DNF'd The Summoning by Bethany Little. This was just way out there for me. It started like really, I don't want to say like religious-y, but yeah, it gave me those vibes, and I don't know if it was going to come back from it. It wasn't like giving me anything, and I was really bored. So yeah, DNF, I've had bad luck with Bethany Little so far. This was a hard DNF too, so I think I'm gonna unhaul it, and I don't know if I'm gonna attempt to read any more from him. We shall see. I might read, what is it, The Handyman or The Mailman or something is like one of the most popular ones by them, so possibly that might happen. And then I DNF'd The Beloved by J.F. Gonzalez, and this was a soft DNF'd. I might pick this one back up when I'm in the mood. It's just, again, it was very convoluted, and I feel like we weren't really getting to the point, but the intro was so good. Like the very beginning of it was just this awesome scene, and I think I talk about it in my Unhinged Good for Her reading vlog, which I'll leave linked down below. All my reading vlogs for August will be linked in the description box down below, where I talk about these books more in depth. But yeah, I was like hooked, and then it was women arguing for like 50 pages, and I was like, yeah, I don't have the patience for this right now. But yeah, softy enough on The Beloved. So actually one of my favorite reads for Garb August was Bethany's Sin by Robert R. McCammon. I had no idea that I would love this book so much. This book and Usher's Passing are my favorite McCammon books, and I haven't seen anybody really talk about Bethany's Sin, but yeah, it was wild. It was a wild time. I read this for my Good for Her reading vlog, and it does fit in that trope. It is a bit of a reveal towards the end, but I was like, yes. Was it wacky, crazy, silly, stupid? Yes, but I had a blast with it. There's some really great imagery in this too that is like haunting, and I had a freaking blast with it. So if you don't know what Bethany's Sin is about, it is about a town called Bethany's Sin. That's a very unique name for a town, right? And men are very scared in this town. So, oh no, there's only women in charge, and a writer moves there, and he becomes a bit suspicious about these women in power, and that's all I'm going to say about this one. It was a ride, let's just say that. But I gave it 5 stars because it was the first book of the month, and I kind of went into it not thinking it was going to be as good as it was. So yeah, 5 stars. One of my favorite reads of August, actually, because yeah, going forward, it's not so great. And then for that Good for Her vlog too, I read Elizabeth by Ken Greenhall. Was it Greenhall? This is a Paperbacks from Hell, and it is on my 23 and 23, and I was not a fan of this. Well, it was okay, I guess. I gave it 3 stars. I did enjoy like the evil kid aspect of it, but his writing, I just don't know. I don't know about his writing. His writing is very pretentious to me. It's like, dude, you could have said this like so like simple, you know, and he doesn't at all. And also Elizabeth is exactly like Baxter from Hellhound, so I just kept thinking about Baxter. I was like, is this girl just Baxter? Like, what the heck? Superiority complex, psycho, just like crazy. And I was like, this is exactly like Baxter. Also, there's some stuff in this that I don't think was handled very well, and it's just kind of like glossed over, like incest. And I was like, what? Like, we're not gonna like talk about that at all, anyways. But I did like the reveal in it. I thought the reveal was pretty interesting. And yeah, the evil kid trope in this was done, I guess, pretty well. But yeah, it was just okay. 3 stars. And the next book I read for that same reading vlog was Audition by Reyu Murakami. This was trashier than I thought it was going to be. There is like such a long, it's not even a sex scene, it's him remembering a sex scene, and I was like, dude, like, can we move on with this? Like, I don't care. But yeah, this guy's crazy. He thinks he's in love. Well, like, he might have been, I don't know, but like, he meets this girl in a fake audition. It's awful. Like, if you guys seen the movie, you know, and you're on her side, right? Like, you're crazy, man. Why'd you think you're gonna get away with something like this? And yeah, I will say there is a part in the book that I don't think was in the movie, but it's been forever since I've seen the movie. I need to rewatch it with a dog. So just look up content warnings for that, because I was like so sad about it. It was very sad. And yeah, I'm still rooting for her though, you know, good for her. And I gave it 4 stars. The next book I read for that vlog was Full Brutal by Christopher Triana. This was so wild and ridiculous. We follow Kim, who is a cheerleader. She's pretty popular, but she is psychotic teenager, and I don't know how to phrase this correctly, because she doesn't, I guess she seduces the teacher, but the teacher is also like horrible, portrayed horrifically in this as well, which I really liked that aspect of it. I was like, yeah, I mean, he's a total creep anyways, but Kim ends up getting pregnant, and some stuff starts to escalate with her behavior, and it is so gory and great. I had a lot of fun with this one, and I did like the ending a lot, but I feel like it dragged a bit. Like, this was a longer book. I think it was 360-ish pages or so, and I feel like it dragged in the middle a bit, and it got a little repetitive being in Kim's head, which I totally get, I guess, because she was spiraling. But yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a 3.5 star. It might have changed from when I first read it, and I'll round up to 4 on Goodreads. And then I read Allison by Jeff Strand. This is kind of like a Carrie retelling with like the mob. The mob stuff was really annoying to me in this, so I think I'm just gonna give it like a lower 3 star, because there was parts of it I enjoyed. Don't get me wrong, I did enjoy it, but the mob stuff was so annoying. I was like, oh my gosh, Allison, yes, just break everybody's bones. She's like Carrie, but with bones. So I was just like, okay, yeah, get rid of them the whole time, but it was like overly complicated. But it's a Jeff Strand book, you know, they're just like fun and easy to read, and this one was available on KU. I ended up reading Invitation to Death by Brian Smith. I just listened to this one on Scribd, and it's actually like a Christmas story, like the Haunting of Hill House movie. Is that right? Like the Vincent Price movie where like he invites people to his house to play a game. It's I actually listened to this because it reminded me of Puzzle House, and I was like, okay, cool, and it's going to be pretty gnarly. It's a Brian Smith book. He's more of an extreme horror writer, and I was so bored. I was like, oh my gosh, will this ever end? I feel like I listened to this for a while, so I think I'm leaning towards a 2-star for it just because I was so bored and over everybody in this book. Then I read Love, Laugh, Lich by Kitty Pryor. This is a smut book, a monster smut book that I read, and it takes place in like an office. It's like a corporate setting with monsters, which I thought was really funny and fun, and yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. I enjoyed it. I'm giving it 3 stars. On to the Koontzes. I read 2 Koontz books. I might have read more Koontz. I don't know. I keep saying Koontz. That's a weird last name. So I read The Mask by Koontz. And yeah, this was interesting. This is like an evil kid book. I wasn't expecting it. I mean, look at the cover. Like, do you think of an evil kid book like this? No. And it was kind of weird. Actually, I don't even remember what I gave this. That's pretty bad. I might have been 2 stars. If anything, it's 3 stars. But yeah, I don't remember what I originally thought of it. But this is about a woman who cannot have kids of her own, and she ends up adopting, and who she adopts is evil, or going through the process is evil. So yeah, it was okay, I guess. And then I read The Funhouse, which, oh yeah, so I did like The Mask. Now it's coming back to me. Okay, so I liked The Mask more than Funhouse. So I definitely gave this one a low rating, and I gave this one a higher rating, if that makes any sense. But yeah, this was insane. This also is an evil kid book. So a woman ends up putting her evil devil child out of its misery at the beginning of this, and then it picks up with the dad of that child being like, I'm going to hunt you down when you have more kids, and I'm going to kill your kids. In the meantime, he has another evil kid devil child that is killing people at a carnival. So this will work for the carnival, I guess, but it was so bad. I haven't watched the movie though, so I might watch the movie for carnival. And yeah, this was terrible. There is a teenager in this who I have never heard anybody in my life in a book or a movie talk the way this girl talked. I was like, there is no way. Like, Koontz, what were you thinking? So since we just did Dean Koontz, we should just do some John Saul. I ended up reading Cubs the Blind Fury and Nathaniel. And Nathaniel's an evil kid story as well. Cubs the Blind Fury is an evil kid story as well. So yeah, lots of evil kid books happening with Koontz and John Saul. So this one I did like more. I'm giving this, I think I gave this one 3 stars, and then this one I was very boring, a 2.5 at the highest. So this is about like an evil kid ghost mostly, and like coming home horror, I guess. And then this one is like an evil doll story. So that's why I like this one a little bit more. And I liked the ending of this one too. And yeah, the evil doll stuff worked for me in this John Saul book, which I was surprised. Then I read Lizzie Borden by Elizabeth Instrom, and this was actually kind of cozy for me. It was like a cozy historical book that is a fictionalized story about Lizzie Borden. I really liked where she went with this. There is like sapphic stuff in this because Lizzie Borden was rumored to be gay, and I liked reading the story of like her relationships and stuff with women, and her being like giddy and stuff, and I was like, yes, Lizzie. Like I thought it was really cute, and I did like the ending of this. It ends how the Legend of Lizzie Borden movie kind of begins, and I thought that was really clever. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It was kind of tough to get through because I did read it physically, and my copy kept falling apart, and I felt bad every time I would pick it up and it would just crumble in my hands. But I ended up giving it 4 stars and I really enjoyed it. And I ended up reading a couple paperbacks from hell that are on my 23 and 23. I read Stage Fright by Garrett Boatman, and this was such a wild ride. Oh my gosh. So this is not what I expected at all. I thought it was going to be a like possessed musical instruments or something, right? From the cover. Like you can just see that happening. And then I feel like I read something where I kind of got that too. No, this is like more of a sci-fi horror book. This is about a dude who is in a band that is very gore-esque. If you're familiar with gore, the best band, the best horror band ever. And basically, he wants to put on like this huge Halloween show, but he is trying to come up with the ideas from his dreams because he's not creative, apparently. So he goes to this guy who can like make his dreams like with his machine like become reality, but of course it goes horribly wrong. Like it literally starts off with like a dragon monster like killing people because it was from his dreams, and I was like all about that. I was like, yes, I'm all about this book. But then it just got so boring. There's a lot of characters in it, and that I feel like it just dragged so much, but overall I did enjoy it and gave it 3.5 stars. I'll round up to 4 on Goodreads. And then The Pact by David Fisher. I had a blast with this one. It's very short and I was rooting for The Pact, of course. Did I talk about this one? I don't know if I vlogged this because I didn't vlog like the last of the month, but this pack is the cutest pack of dogs you've ever heard of. Killer dogs. It's like a collie, a dachshund, the shepherd is the leader, of course, the German shepherd, and like it's just like a cute little, like I think there was like even a beagle in this group, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's like Homeward Bound, but they're like killing people, and they're not even killing people because they're hungry. I mean, that's part of it, but it's also like revenge. They just like revenge on men because they suck, and I'm like, yes, they do suck. I think this is a great example of eco horror of the time. This came out in the 70s where eco horror was kind of taking off, and yeah, I think it was just done so well. And the more I think about it, and like the more it just sits on my brain thinking about this story, I really enjoyed it, and I think I'm giving it like 4 star or 4.5 star, just because like I feel like it can't be a 5 because of course the wife in this is written like ridiculously, like, oh, she's just a housewife, she just plans for parties, and then it's like, oh yeah, she ends up saving the freaking day, spoiler. But yeah, I was just like so angry about that. I was like, why is he writing women like this? And I'm like, oh, it's the 70s and he's a man. Exactly, that's why. And then I ended up reading The Searing by John Cohn. You guys, this was ridiculous. This is the most ridiculous shit I've ever read. And I read a lot of ridiculous shit like this month, but, well gosh, what did I give this? Oh yeah, I gave this 2 stars. So this was all over the place for me. Oh, and it turned into an evil kid story, which I should be all about now. I'm an expert. But no. Where this went, I don't want to spoil it, but it's very X-Files-esque, I feel like, but boring. Like, insanely boring. So this is about a community, like a new subdivision, and the women start experiencing stuff, orgasms. They're having all the orgasms, and they get together and they're trying to figure it out. The men are just being terrible, of course, and then there's an evil kid, and then it turns into something else that it was, and I was like, what? What the hell did John go? I think this would have been a wild time to read in the 80s. I would be like, oh yeah, this is fun, but I think I'm gonna go back to reading Stephen King. So yeah, 2 stars for the Searing. And then another bad book I read is a knockoff of Rosemary's Baby, 22 Hallowfield, by Doris Shannon. The cover is sick, okay? The cover is amazing, but it's very, very boring. It is exactly the same as Rosemary's Baby for the most part, except you follow a single woman who moved into this apartment building, and she is so mean about everything, and she just knows there's Satanists there because her parents were Satanists, duh, like, it makes sense now, right? So yeah, I think I'm leaning toward, what did I write down here? Sorry if I keep looking down at my notebook. I gave this one 2 stars, but now I'm thinking about it, this is more of like a 1-star book. And then one of the other biggest surprises other than Bethany sent for me in August was Endless Night by Richard Lehman. You guys know I hated Traveling Vampire Show. Like, I hate that book with a passion now. Like, that is like one of the worst books I read this year. But Endless Night, I really liked for a Lehman book, I guess. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. The first 50 pages of this are some of the best pages I've ever read in horror. Like, I will say that, like, this is one of the greatest openings in a horror book that I've read in a really long time. I was on the edge of my seat. I was very hooked. I could not stop reading. I read this on KU, by the way, and I always start my Kindle books like before bed, and I was like up. Like, I read a good 100 pages of this book before falling asleep, and I was just like so into the story. But on a layman, I guess, how he is, it really drags. Like, you get way too much of the villain in this. Like, you don't need that much of how evil this dude is. Like, it already comes across. And then our hero in it too, you get like a lot from her too, and that I feel like you didn't need. And yeah, I feel like it just dragged way too much for me to give it 4 stars. And then also the climax of this story, he says rump in it, and I was like laughing, and I'm like, this is horrible. This is absolutely horrible what's happening, and I'm laughing because you wrote her rump on here, sir. No. So I originally gave this like a 3.5, and I was going to round up to 4, but I think it's a solid 4. And yeah, I highly suggest if you like home invasion stories, because the first half of this book, the very beginning, is so solid. It's fantastic. On to some non-trashy books that I ended up reading, or what I wouldn't consider trash. You know, trash is, you know, it's biased, right? So, Doll Parks by Karen Rouge I read, and this was like super dark and disturbing and depressing about a daughter with her mom who is doing horrific shit to her daughter, or putting her in horrible situations. Like, this was rough. Like, this is one of the most disturbing, darkest books I've ever read, and it is heartbreaking and devastating, and it was awful. It was totally awful. And I think when I first read it, I was so like numb or like put off by it. I gave it 3 stars. I was like, whatever, like I'm giving it 3 stars. But I think it takes guts to tell a story like this and to tell it in this particular way. So I think it is a little bit higher for me now. I think it is more of a 4-star book. And then Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. Talk about disturbing and unhinged. Boy oh boy, this was a rough one. I read this one for my unhinged / good for her vlog. So all my thoughts will be in that one, because I don't even know if I want to talk about it right now. Like, I'm trying to have a good day here. But yeah, I ended up giving that one 4 stars. And then one of my other favorite books of August was Delicate Condition by Danielle Valentine. If you guys don't know, this is what the new season of American Horror Story is going to be based off of, Delicate. And I'm super excited for it. I haven't been excited for a season in a long time, so it's fun to be excited about something spooky, I guess. So this is about a woman who is going through IVF, and she ends up getting pregnant and ends up losing the baby, and she doesn't believe it though. Like, that's why I did like quotation marks. This is very like modern Rosemary's Baby. Takes place in New York City, but it is very like of the time. It's very modern take on it. We follow like an actress who just made it big, but she's older, which I think is really interesting. Like, that whole aspect of it kept me in the story, and I really liked the main character. Was it a bit predictable? It was a little predictable, but I had fun with it, and I really liked the author's note. And yeah, I'm excited for more people to read this, and I'm excited to watch the show, and I gave it 5 stars. And the next book I ended up reading was a thriller, All Her Little Secrets by Wanda M. Morris. I really enjoyed this one. It was much darker than I thought it was going to be, and I believe, oops, I just dropped my phone. I believe there is going to be a prequel that is the sequel. I think somebody told me that. So yeah, I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to that one. And I ended up giving this one, I think, 5 stars or 4.5 stars. I don't know what I gave any, I don't know what I rated anything this month. That's awful. Then I read You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Kaylin Byron. I actually didn't plan this, but it ended up being Amy McCall's YA horror book club pick for the month. So I got to watch the live show and be in the chat the other day, which was really fun, because this is just like a fun YA slasher that takes place at a camp where they actually reenact the slashing that took place there in the past, which I thought was like a really fun premise. Like, the our main character is like literally covered in blood when we meet her, and I was like, yes, I like this. I'm enjoying it. Did it kind of go off the deep end with the twist? Yes, but I didn't really predict it, but I don't go into books predicting it. And I did feel like it dragged a little bit towards like the middle and stuff, but I really liked the epilogue. What happens in the epilogue, I was just like, what? I did not even see that coming at all. Like, I thought things were going to be wrapped up, right? And I did not get that. I would love to get a prequel from this, because where it goes is really interesting, and it reminds me of like some real life stuff. So yeah, I ended up giving it 4 stars. It was about a 3-star like until the end though. And I read All Hallows by Christopher Golden, and this one was just okay for me. Maybe less than okay, because I was very bored. Okay, so this one was like more family drama. I got the Halloween vibes in it. It does take place on Halloween, but the drama, you guys. I have not read a book with so much freaking drama, melodrama in it. There is literally a scene where a husband and wife like are getting a divorce like on Halloween night. Like, dude, what? Why are you exploding? Like, they're arguing, like the kids are ready to go trick-or-treating. It's like, no, you don't do that. You don't do that. Like, what are you doing? So yeah, I was just like, what the hell is happening? And I feel like you didn't get enough of spooky stuff in this. Like, it didn't feel very spooky. Yeah, I was just like, okay, I'm kind of sad about it, but I ended up giving it 2 stars. And then I ended up reading A Sign Here by Claudia Lux, and this one was more of a domestic thriller than a horror comedy in hell that I thought it was going to be. I thought the hell stuff is going to be very like Mr. B-ish from Clive Barker, which it was to an extent, but it kept flashing back to like this domestic thriller family stuff with melodramatic fighting, husband and wife, they're about to get a divorce. You know, like, I'm here for hell, okay? I don't care about your marriage and shit and stuff that happened forever ago. Like, I don't care. So I was like kind of mad about that. But I did hear this book was like that. And it looks like, oh yeah, I gave this one 2.5. So a little bit higher than All Hallows, but I was still disappointed. But I really like the cover a lot. I think the cover is really cute, but I was so upset about it. It just needed to take place in hell, okay? You have the humans be like the very, very side characters, if anything. I read Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle, and I actually read this because I was a co-host for Elizabeth from Reading Riley's book club, the Midnight Book Society, and I will leave the live show down below so you can see if we accepted it into the Midnight Book Society. But spoiler, I loved it. I gave it, I think I'm leaning towards 5-star for it. It was just like so unique. Like, I thought going into this story we were going to get a certain aspect or some stuff is going to happen, but he definitely flips the script and he hones in on some great horror tropes and really uses it to have a clear message in this that I absolutely loved, and it was a very unique message, I feel like, too. And yeah, I'm so excited to read more horror from Chuck Tingle. And yeah, this is so leans YA, it leans young, but I talk about it in the live show. I think it's for more people to be able to read this because I think everybody should read this story. I think this is one of the most important horror books to come out in recent years, and I compared it to Mary and to movie-wise, but I'm a cheerleader. And then I read Suffer the Darkness by Yolanda Safsos, and I read this for my book club, the Reaper Book Club, and I'm actually having my live show tonight, so I haven't fully thought of my rating. I think I do know it. I think I'm more in the middle with this one. I think this would count as garbage as well as a trash read, just because it was very B-movie-esque, so I think I'm leaning towards like a 4-star. It was fun. It was a fun read, but it wasn't like anything like that blew me away, you know. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about this one with Kitty, who is my co-host for this month, and I will link her channel down below. It's Spicy Cats Read, and yeah, I'm excited to talk about it with her tonight. Guys, this is not even funny how many more books I have to talk about. Okay, so I ended up reading Strang Seed by T.M. Wright. I only read the first book of this. I have the 5 books on my freaking 23 and 23. I don't know why I'm taking them off. I wrote the whole, like, oh, the Strang Seed series. Why? This was painful. This book was painful to get through. It's evil kids, okay? It is evil kids. I don't think I like that trope anymore. So this is evil kids meets, like, I guess environmental, eco-horror-esque stuff. It's about a, family, or a husband and wife that end up moving into the woods, and stuff keeps getting vandalized, and then there's this creepy kid, and some stuff goes down, and the wife's not acting right. She's in and out of it. The husband keeps seeing stuff. The neighbors are weird. It's just like a lot of nothing happening. It's like, okay, who cares? And of course it doesn't really have an ending because there's 4 more books to read in this series. So yeah, 2 stars. Like, I can't even think of like one thing I even really liked in this. Maybe when the kids were doing the vandalizing, I thought that was funny. And then there's like great scenes of them just looking out and seeing them in the woods. I thought was pretty interesting. But yeah, overall, total trash. The trashiest of the paperbacks of trash. And then I listened to Damned by Chuck Palahniuk. I have not read a Palahniuk book since I was in high school. Oh, this read so young, and it's kind of awful. It was published in 2012. This is about a 13-year-old girl who I'm dropping everything, ends up going to hell, and you just kind of get like how hell works, and you know, she has to work in a cubicle, you know, it's tough. But yeah, it's very silly, and I don't know, I have no idea like what was the point of this one too. Like what? It has some pretty rough language in it for even being published in 2012. I was like, ugh, you know, but overall it's a very quick listen to, and I guess I enjoyed some aspects of it. It was very funny, the whole how hell works and stuff. It kind of reminded me of Disenchantment a bit, which is one of like my favorite cartoon shows or animation shows to come out pretty recently, I guess, in their portrayal of hell. But this one's definitely more grimy and gritty and gross. But yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It's like, meh, whatever. And I read Clue, the novelization by Michael McDowell, and of course I don't own it because it's like $400. But it is on archive.org where I read it, and this is a fun little read. He sticks with the movie pretty much, and I think a lot of the humor from the movie definitely translate into this novelization, and it had all of the endings at the end, which was really fun. It was like choose your own, and it just I just read through it. But yeah, I ended up giving this one 4 stars. It was a lot of fun. And I ended up reading some middle grade trashy books like Goosebump knockoffs, Shivers, Be Very Afraid of the Green. I did not like this one at all. I think I'm leaning towards a 1 star for it. It was just rude. It was just rude what happens in this. Anyways, and then Scared to Death, Oops, We Killed the Babysitter or whatever, Johanna and Malcolm, by Johanna and Malcolm. I really liked this one. It has a bit of a twist too, and a twist ending, and there is some creepy imagery in it, and I think I'm leaning towards a 4 star for this one, and I'm saving the other one I have of this one for when I get in a rut or something, because I had a lot of fun with it. It was great. And then I ended the month with The Pretty Ones by Anya Alburn. I'm considering this garbage. It's a little novella. It's kind of like a psycho homage, but with a woman and like her relationship with her brother. And it takes place in the 70s in New York, and it's really grimy and dirty and disgusting, and I think that came through really well, but I was honestly really bored. It's only 117 pages or so. I think it's really short novella, and it took me a while to get through it. It was a bit of a struggle, so I think I'm leaning towards a 2.5 for it. I'll round up to 3 on Goodreads. So let me know some of your favorite reads down in the comments that you read in August. I'm always in the need for recommendations. You guys know this, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye!